For all of us, the pandemic, the dangerous spread of the virus, and the lockdown are new territory. This raises concerns and questions about how to act now. We are all called upon to participate in the containment. We also want to make our contribution. In today's instructional film, special episode 1, we show you how to get through everyday life in times of a pandemic. For this purpose, we use film material from our instructional film on how to handle food in accordance with the German Protection Against Infection Act and have supplemented it with current issues. One more important hint. The ideas and recommendations presented below have not been discussed with epidemiologists and scientists. They are based on a general knowledge about hygiene and take into account current knowledge, but also half knowledge about transmission patterns of SARS-2 and the lung disease COVID-19. Probably only in a few years we will understand whether the measures were excessive or too hesitant. However, since this is a virtually unknown virus, we want to motivate people to act proactively. Because for us, prevention and health are paramount, and we must, figuratively speaking, remove people from the virus in order to slow down its spread or even eradicate it. And very important, here we are all challenged, please. The mistaken belief that we belong to those people who will have easy progressions is the biggest problem. Because not only the particularly endangered groups, but all must cooperate. Straight dose 80% with those the disease process without or with easy symptoms takes place can make the all largest contribution with their behavior the virus to contain and help our hospitals to relieve. Let us now first look at the subject of hand hygiene, which is addressed everywhere. It is the be-all and end-all of containing the pandemic. So make sure that you wash your hands extensively for at least 20 to 30 seconds and then use a disinfectant if possible. On this board you can see a guide to food hygiene, which is similarly distributed by the World Health Organization. There are different types of disinfectant. Please read the product instructions in detail in order to achieve an optimum effect and not to impair devices or surfaces. There are disinfectants for hands, for surfaces, as detergents and as cleaning clothes. Disinfectants are rare, but hopefully available again soon. Pharmacies, for example, have been given the opportunity to produce them themselves, as they used to do in the past. The disinfection of a smartphone is difficult, because the ingredients of the disinfectants can affect the display and its touchscreen functions. For this reason, please follow the manufacturer's instructions. A good protection is to use headphones for telephoning. Here too, it's important to clean and, if possible, disinfect your hands after use. Very important, please do not give your smartphone to other people during the pandemic. We have always known that cash is a carrier of germs and viruses, which is not surprising when we consider how many hands the money passes through. That's why you are currently using the possibilities of contactless payment transactions when paying. But here too, after using the keyboard or pen, please clean and disinfect your hands. Speaking of purchasing, if you have to shop, please remember to keep a sufficient distance to other people. A distance of at least 2 meters is recommended. If possible, use protective equipment when shopping and advise who in the family or neighborhood should go for everyone. Please also remember that shopping baskets and trolleys can be contaminated by viruses. Therefore, you should clean items and hands properly after shopping. It is still unclear whether and how long the coronaviruses on clothing will survive. To be on the safe side, clothes should be changed and washed after shopping. The use of gloves is a sensitive issue, because the wrong use of gloves and disposable gloves helps the virus to spread, because gloves cannot be cleaned and disinfected. These days you can see numerous customers, shop staff or emergency personnel wearing gloves, as here at border controls. Or let us look at northern Italy. As in Germany, you see police officers at controls. The officers are correctly equipped with a face mask. Unfortunately, the protection of the eyes is missing. But more about this in another issue about protective equipment. They all wear gloves. This is okay for now, if they would not touch anything with them or change them probably after contact. But they do not do that in these two examples. They check the papers such as passport, ticket or smartphones. If you were to use the gloves correctly, you would have to change them after each contact in order not to contaminate the following people in case of virus transmission. Even at the shown border controls, you will find insufficient protective measures. What would be the correct procedure in all these situations? Reducing further spread is only possible if the officers carry out their checks completely contactlessly and wash and disinfect their hands regularly. So no matter where you work, at the moment of cleaning, you interrupt the possible transmission of pathogens and end the chain of infection. Why may it be necessary to disinfect surfaces? It is of course true that the majority of infections are caused by droplets. The correct coughing and sneezing is essential. Disposable handkerchiefs are helpful, and after use, hands should be cleaned and disinfected if possible. In the cases of contaminated surfaces, we speak of a so-called smear infection, as pathogens are absorbed with the hands or other objects. There are currently very different opinions on how long the SARS-2 pathogen can survive on surfaces. If we take a look on SARS-1, this virus could be detected on surfaces for up to 9 days. And for that reason, the transmission path through smear infection via surfaces should be proactively taken into account. Since the virus was detected early in stool and other excretions, toilet hygiene is very important. Persons who clean them should therefore ensure that adequate protective measures are taken. And very important to contain the pandemic, before flushing the toilet lid should be closed to prevent the virus, which is present wherever possible, from spreading throughout the room via the fine water particles and escaping into rooms and apartments. The mutual risk of infection is of course greatest with members of a shared home. Therefore, you should pay attention to good hygiene and provide everyone with their own towels. It can even make sense to temporarily provide paper towels, so that after a walk or shopping, for example, towels become less dirty. Besides the bathroom, staircases, door handles, switches and all other handles and doors should be kept clean and disinfected where possible. And try to avoid using your hands completely when using them. Help yourself with other ideas and develop new shapes. Hands are simply the best friends of pathogens. They help often them unconsciously to enter our bodies. And one more final topic. There are many smokers among the sick. Apart from medical reasons, improper hygienic handling may also be a reason for this. Hands and cigarettes must remain virus-free. When taking out and smoking a cigarette, the filter and lips must not come into contact with hands that may be contaminated with viruses. Since this protection is almost impossible to achieve when rolling a cigarette, filter cigarettes should be used temporarily if possible. We can still give you a tip. If you open the cigarette box at the other end, you do not run the risk of touching the filters. And in times of a pandemic, you cannot share cigarettes with other people. Of course, this also applies to all other everyday objects, such as cups, glasses, bottles or toothbrushes. This ends the first episode of our instructional film Special 1. We hope that the hints are helpful for you, and in the near future we will publish more episodes on this topic. If you have any ideas, suggestions or questions, please feel free to write them in the comments. If now everyone pays attention to their personal hygiene and helps others, we can slow down the infection significantly. We also ask them to keep their social contacts to an absolute minimum. Thank you very much, and please stay healthy.